Welcome to an Unlimited 100 tournament report. I went to the Unlimited 100 tournament in Manchester on Saturday, and I'm going to tell you how I did and how I felt the day it went. I did quite well. I went 3-1 to a third place finish, which was good enough to get me Pro Bowl, and let's get straight into it. So in the first round I played against Iris. She was using, it was a very weird deck to me. It was the best way, well, colourless birds with Togekiss. Now, the colourless birds included Staraptor, which was the level X version, which could search for a supporter using its Pokemon and even. And then she used Porygon 2, so they could use the 2 supporters a turn, which came in handy during the match. And then there was Pidgeot line used. I know there was one with Headwind, which increased the attack cost by 2 colourless, and it was 20 damage for a double colourless energy. Now, they also played a Togekiss from Primal Clash or Roaring Skies. It was from Roaring Skies, and it wasn't the Serene Grace one. It was the one with Powerful Slap and Aura Sphere. Now, this kind of shocked me because I was expecting Togekiss to see some play since it is a decent card, and now the line has 2 different types that can use Serene Grace, but it was kind of the way of doing a lot of damage in that deck, using Powerful Slap. Now, for a colourless, the attack was 50 times damage for the card for each energy attached to this Pokemon, and it does 50 times the amount of heads. Or it can do Aura Sphere, which is 70 to the active and 20 to one of the bench Pokemon. So it's not too bad, and it also does 100. It also has 140 HP, so it's quite bulky. Now, this is eventually what finished me off, but throughout the game, I never really got going. I started off using the Temper Tantrum Banette, and I managed to take 2 quick knockouts using Loneliness and Dark Switch, but then she managed to set up her Pidgeot, which just kept on spamming Headwind. Now, because of Banette's resistance to colourless, it actually did no damage, but I couldn't really afford to actually just power it up because there was not much point. I would have spent 4 turns to power up a Pokemon that usually just needs 2 or 1 energy, and at that point probably just switch to something that could knock out Banette. So the game kind of slowed down at that point. I was just trying to build up my own bench, not really focus on what was active, and I would just get rid of it at some point. And this is where it all started to go downhill. Now, I eventually realised what I had to do to win the game, which was power up a Gallade and, by extension, a Mew EX, which would have been the first line of defence before I could actually send up a Gallade. But I got 2 energy onto the Mew, about to start using Psychic Cut. I only need 1 more energy, and it got knocked out by a Powerful Slap and Togekiss for the game, and it was 2 coins and both were heads, and it already had some residual damage up. So I ended up losing that game. I didn't really get going. I didn't really aim to do what I don't want to do, but all the way through it I had a Banette EX on the bench, which was basically threatening her with, I kept on discarding supporters every turn, as my deck usually wants to do, so it can do a lot of damage using Banette EX. But because of the Staraptor and Porygon 2 combo, she ended up playing like trump card Lysandra's trump card every turn. Now, whilst I ended up never powering up Banette EX, I still felt I had to threaten her using that to force one of the supporters to be trump card, and maybe not another support that would put her further ahead. It was kind of annoying to constantly get trump carded, but it was definitely a legitimate strategy, and it was definitely the best thing to do, regardless whether or not I had an energy attached to Banette or not, because I only needed 1 and a dimension value, which I can just get down in one one turn. So it was, even though I had like 4 supporters in the discard pile, it was still worth it to trump card, and it was definitely the correct play by Iris. Okay, so on to round 2, I played against Craig, who was using Sizor and Excadrill. Now I didn't know he was using Excadrill, I found this out after the fact, because it didn't last very long in the match, but it felt like it did. Now, I don't get a great start here, and Craig manages to get a turn 2 Sizor. Now the Sizor he was using, I'd never seen it before. It was definitely not what I was expecting to play against yet again. It was the one from Undaunted. Now it doesn't look great, but when I was facing it down and I wasn't drawing into anything, it was definitely a problem. It only has 90 HP, and it has a for metal and a colorless cut for 50, or 2 metal and a colorless metal claw for 80. Now the important part about this is it resisted psychic -20, which was to my own detriment. I really didn't get anything. I had to try and use Ralts and Wobbuffet to just try and kill it, which I eventually managed to do, but that was after I didn't even kill it with a Wobbuffet. I had to leave the Wobbuffet on the bench, and I eventually got a Banette EX going. I had like 3 supporters in the discard pile, and I managed to get the knockout. Now, he didn't get anything during this time. He had a Voltorb on the bench with the hard charm. Now, I assumed that was a buzz up that he was going to get, but obviously if it was his only Pokemon in play, then he's not going to buzz up, because that means he actually loses. So the situation is, he has a Buzz Up Electrode, which has 60 HP. Well, sorry, he has a Voltorb with 60 HP and hard charm attached to it, and I have a Banette fully powered up, just 1 energy in Dimension Valley in play, and 3 supporters in the discard pile. So I know what I need to do. I need to get, I think I worked out, it was 3 more supporters into the discard pile, and then that would have done 10, that would have done 60, 90, 70 damage. Or I could have got 2 more, and that would have done exactly 60, with factoring in the hard charm. Now, it comes to my turn, and I play Imposter Book's Revenge, discarded in Pokemon Collector, so that's 4. And then I play the Castaway, which gets me a Muscle Band. I attach that to Banette, and I managed to just Shadow Charm the game. It didn't last that long, but at one point I thought I was genuinely going to get swept by this Sizor, which wasn't an exciting prospect considering I don't think it's the greatest card, but it could have just been a surprise time machine target. Obviously 2 for 50 is not that bad, but yeah, it wasn't looking too good at one point, but I managed to just get a Banette out and start going through people. Okay, so round 3 I played against Gengar Lost Zone. Now this was the longest game I played, and it was also the most complex. I'd say that if you're looking for a game to show people how interesting Limited 100 is, watching this game would have definitely been one of them. Now the synergy with Crawdon and Gengar Prime is that Crawdon uses Splashback to put one of your, probably a stage 2, back into your hand, and then he uses Gengar Prime's attack Hurl into Darkness to look at the opponent's hand and then put a number of Pokemon up to the amount of Psychic Energy attached to Gengar into the Lost Zone. So if he puts back a stage 2 twice and hurls into Darkness with 3 energy attached twice, he wins the game once he has Lost Zone in play. Lost World, the Lost World Stadium. Now, that isn't his only win con. He also uses Palpy Level X, which has the Poké Power. Any player has 4 or more bench Pokemon chooses 3 of his or her bench, and then put the other bench Pokemon and all cards attached to it into the Lost Zone. This is another way to get cards into the Lost Zone. Just very easily. It's still on his turn, which is important because he's not also using an attack, and if he doesn't do it all in one turn, then he can still, then the opponent has the chance to get rid of Pokemon from their hand. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Now, with the combination of things like Target Whistle, Erica's Perfume, Hurl into Darkness, and Crawdon, you can't have Pokemon in either your hand or the discard pile, or more than 3 bench Pokemon. And if you have them in the discard pile, you basically limit yourself to 2, if not 1 bench spot, to stop him from being able to use the Target Whistle and Poke Flute, so that you do have 4 or more, and then splashing back something into your hand, or using Lost Cyclone. So you have to be very careful with where your Pokemon are at all times. If you have a Claydol, which I didn't during this game, you have to use the Cosmic Power to put the Pokemon you have in your hand back into your deck, and you have to use all your recovery cards on any Pokemon, just so he can potentially bring them back into the field and then splash back something that you actually care about. Now, he also uses Milotic, which had the Power Sharing, which lets him look at my hand, so again he gets to see how many Pokemon I have in my hand and plans to turn around that, and use one of the supporters he finds in there as the effect of the power. I had Seeker in my hand, and Broken Town Space was in play, so this created an infinite combo, where he could just continually Seeker up Milotic, and I had to Seeker up one of my bench Pokemon, which was annoying because I had like a Wobbuffet with 2 energy on and a Garlade with some energy on, meaning that obviously I don't want to return it to my hand because that's like 5 turns worth of energy attachments going back to my hand, as well as the stage 2, and obviously Pokemon going back into my hand so we can Hurl into Darkness then. And he just keeps playing the Milotic down and using Seeker because it stays in my hand during the power. Now I'm playing Alakazam here, so I let it go for the first time because I just keep stopping him from using Crawdon or just anything that's going to try and like splash back with my Pokemon, even though I'm keeping myself at 3. I'm not like risking a 4th just in case. So he does it first time, I allow it, I don't power cancel, and then we both realise what combo just happened. Now obviously this isn't very recreatable because it requires your opponent to have a Seeker in hand, which you can't really say let them draw into a Seeker. Okay, so it's not very reliable, but he realises, then I realise, and then I immediately power cancel so he can't return it back to his hand, meaning that my whole bench would just be gone at that point. It was a very precarious position, but again, it just goes to show the complex card interactions in this format. So I keep chipping away at his Gengar Prime with a Wobbuffet. Now, he knows that he's not going to get anything from Hurl into Darkness, so he starts using Curse Drop. He gets a Dunsparce, and I believe he gets my Baltoy into the Lost Fold, so I immediately discard Claydol, and then later on I shuffle it back into the deck. Now whilst I'm chipping away at Wobbuffet, he can only put 4 damage counters on. That's what Gengar's second attack is, 4 damage counters onto onto my Pokemon any way he likes. So you could spread it 1-1-1-1 or 4-1, but because it's 4 damage counters, it means you can't boost that damage. And although Wobbuffet is weak to a Psychic, because it's damage counters, it doesn't trigger weakness. So on 110 HP Pokemon, he can't actually 1-shot or even 2-shot. He has the 3-shot Curse Drop, which is very slow, versus a Wobbuffet that has a Muscle Band on and can continually just hit for more damage each turn. And I believe I played a Laser as well, just like trying to get damage to stack up. So just before I kill it, I think it has like 20 HP left, he eventually retreats it and then Megas it into Mega Gengar. Now I start to get worried because I now have to go on the offensive using Garlade, which is a problem because I'm worried that he's just going to bring forward Mega Gengar and use Psychic Cut and 1-shot my Garlade, and he does it even after flip. many prizes, I don't think, because I believe that Gallade is actually weak to Psychic. It would make sense for it to be weak to Psychic. Yeah, it is. This is the Secret Ones one, by the way. It's only weak to Psychic plus 30, but he would only need to flip 2 or 3 prizes, which he doesn't care about in the first place, considering that he's playing a Lost Board, so he doesn't take prizes. Anyway, so he doesn't bring forward Mega Gengar. I don't know if he whiffed the energy or something, but he doesn't do that. So I managed to kill something with Gallade, and then I immediately bring up Gengar the turn after and kill it with using Ghost. And at this point, he's pretty much lost. He ends up just conceding because I've started to get stuff set up. He's not going to get his combo off, so he's not going to win. Although it was close, like, considering the fact that he could have easily screwed me up using that Seeker combo, especially if I didn't realise what was going to happen and how I needed to stop it. The important thing to remember as well is I had Wobbuffet, which was stopping both his Claydol, his Crawdon and his Palkia. So I just kept on walling Wobbuffet throughout the game. I would not let him have like a turn. So he kept on bringing forward a Shuppet, so he could actually use powers. And I just kept on attaching and retreating. So during this whole game I never used Banette. Considering that it's a Banette deck, that's kind of strange. But it was a very strange game, but it was definitely an interesting one, and one I enjoyed thoroughly, so thanks to Tom for playing that one out. Okay, so the final round against Feraligatr, this was actually my deck, I just lent out. He has to go like 5 to 10 minutes into the round, but he gets an aggressive start, I get an aggressive start, but the game doesn't end up resolving, and I honestly have no idea how it would have played out. Although I do believe that Feraligatr does have a better matchup, purely because they can get a level 2 stage 2 Pokemon set up pretty quickly, and one that does a lot of damage and can potentially just kill Banettes easily. By the time I get a Gallade out and start flipping over prizes, they probably got enough damage on the board to just one-shot it with the Phantom Forces. Feraligatr. I've never played the match, obviously. We didn't get to play it out fully, but he did get the Glaceon start on the turn 2 Blizzard, meaning that there was a lot of damage on the board that he could have used if the match had gone on for longer. So I ended up going 3-1. Now, I'm not really sure how I feel about this, the result and the deck in general. I like Banette and I like the deck in general, but considering that it didn't really do what it was supposed to do during the day, it probably does need some tweaks. Maybe there's going to be some support in the next set, I'm not sure, but it has got a lot of support recently for Phantom Forces and the new Banette. Now, just to talk quickly about the new Banette, the one from Roaring Skies, the Delta Evolution one. Now this, I think, is a game changer for Banette in general, the deck, because it not only can donk, because Curse Deeply can put 5 damage counters on the active Pokemon, and it's Delta Evolution, and there's Double Rainbow. Now Double Rainbow doesn't reduce the damage counters because it just says damage. Banette isn't an EX, and it is an evolved Pokemon, and even though there is the rule that about attacks on the first turns of both players, the first 2 turns, both players' first turn attacks don't do damage, but I'm placing damage counters, so it actually does go through. Now, you need the right combination of cards, and it's probably easy to do if you go in second, so you can actually play trainer spots and stadiums. But it's just like, if you go second, like if your opponent chooses to go first, you go second, and they don't get anything, then you're killing a Dunsparce, you're killing some like basics that they're probably going to run if they're running stage 2s. So it just adds an extra dimension of play to the deck. But its first attack I completely underestimated. Now, Evolution Jammer for Psychic, it does 20 damage, and your opponent can play any Pokemon from his or her hand to evolve his or her Pokemon during his or her next turn. Wow. So basically, I initially thought this was just to the active, which we've saw cards like that before, and they're not great. But considering it's their entire bench, the whole field, is a lot better. Like, you can forgo an aggressive start just to spam Evolution Jammer for like the first 4 turns. They're not getting declared out unless they're using something like Evo Soda or Wally, but that has to be active, I believe. Wally's training does, I don't think Wally does from Roaring Skies. But basically, Evolution Jammer is very oppressive, which this deck likes, and it's definitely something that I need to have another look at, and perhaps let's build the deck around that a bit more, because it does seem to be quite powerful, even though it only does 20 damage. But 20 damage at the start of the game for just a psychic energy is pretty good. So that was basically it. That was my tournament. I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you next video. Bye.